Let's continue, though, with that leading story. The president is under pressure to either resign or stay in office and provide convincing answers around the burglary at his Phala Phala farm. One of the people who believe the president must go is columnist and author of Ramaphosa Chronicles, Bhekisisa Mncube. He joins me now via Zoom from Pretoria to discuss a letter that he wrote to Mahlamba Ndlovu. This is, of course, the presidential home in Pretoria. Thank you very much, Mr. Mncube, for your time here on eNCA. Now, of course, I saw with that letter that you wrote to the president that you think there's no other way, right, but for him to resign after what happened during the course of this week. So do you think it would be in the best interest for him to resign, in the best interest of the country?
Certainly. Thanks for having me. The president has put himself in an invidious position. It is immaterial that the panel report into the Phala Phala saga is not really convincing. But what we do know is that the president has a case to answer. And it could actually end up being a criminal case if the current permutations are anything to go by. So in the best interest of the country, he ought to take us into his confidence. He must tell us exactly what happened. And then he must offer his resignation as a head of state and leave the party to pick up the pieces so that we can heal as a country. We have been traumatized by so many scandals in this country. The Phala Phala thing came as a surprise. I've been following the presidency of Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa for 3 years now. And I've always found him to be a guy on the right side of history, on the right side of the law. So the Phala Phala is really a serious blotch on his conduct.
Yeah. So one can argue that the president may still want to clear his name. Well, how would you suggest he do it? Because at this point, I'm assuming you'd agree with those who say that if he wants to clear his name while he's still in this position, it begs a lot of questions then in terms of the ANC and where the country would go post-December.
Well, their option, one of the most viable option, of course, is to allow for the spectacle of the impeachment inquiry, wherein the evidence that is presented to the panel will be tested, wherein the president will be able to call witnesses, wherein people will be cross-examined. And then the National Assembly will have to vote on the final report. That will give him time, but also it will allow for the ventilation of all matters that are not clear at present, because we still don't quite understand why the money wasn't declared and then sent, and the relevant authorities informed of the foreign currency that was in the president's house. So what we do need as a country, we need the answers. Yeah. Whether the answers come on the day the president resigns, or we go through the impeachment process, which I honestly believe that it could be a good thing for the country, for our own healing. We remember the Nicholson report got rid of our former president, Thabo Mbeki, and he never got a chance to really put his side of the story. By the time the things went through the courts and it was overturned, he was long gone as a president. So we do need to have a president who goes through the impeachment so that we can test our own systems and our own political system to see that are they strong enough, are they resilient in the face of the massive corruption that we're facing as a country.
Do you see the ANC MPs, though, after the 6th of December, when they, debate this report in Parliament, do you see them actually voting with the opposition to have the impeachment inquiry go ahead?
I've been signing the book, the Ramaphosa Chronicles, for the past 2 months. And every time I sign this book, and I believe I've signed one for the president, actually, I always say to people, I'm asking South Africans to choose the homeland, our homeland, South Africa, ahead of our political leaders. It would be an excellent day of the strength of our democracy, the day ANC parliamentarians vote following their conscience, so that we can clean the stables and begin a new chapter as a country, of which Cyril has put us there already. The institutions are beginning to fire.
Yeah.
Perhaps not from all cylinders, but the NPA has been rebuilt. The SARS is doing a great job. All this kind of green shoots are now going to be stemmed by the Phala Phala saga.
Yeah.
So of course the ANC has its own policy where they tell the parliamentarians how to vote, which is really a pity. We need to know exactly how each person feels and follows the due process. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see.
Unfortunately, it's going to have to take a secret ballot for us to see any of the ANC MPs. The opposition is going to need about 40 MPs to vote for them to get that 50+1 in Parliament for that impeachment process to go on. But I'm interested in what you said a little earlier, Mr. Mncube. You mentioned that it would be great to see the impeachment process unfold so that we see as South Africans if really we do have strength in terms of dealing with presidents who are found wanting. But we may as well not even see this happen if he wakes up tomorrow and decides that he is going ahead and resigning and then, is recalled from being president of the country as well. We won't really see the impeachment inquiry, and we won't get the chance to see that, our processes actually do work in this country.
Well, the panel report is really disappointing because it tells us nothing. There's a lot of conjecture there. All the documents that were submitted to the panel were not subjected to cross-examination. The evidence submitted was not tested anywhere. The whole thing was based on reports, and then they made some recommendations that uses the word may. That does not help us. It should be there is a prima facie evidence of wrongdoing by XY, and then he should be impeached. That is what the presiding officers wanted from the panel.
Well,
clear cause of action.
I'm sorry to interject.
But
I think they were found wanting when it comes to that because, of course, their mandate and scope only stretched to the point of the evidence that they received. So they couldn't, go further in investigating and finding more evidence. They could only rely on what they were given by, for instance, the EFF and the ATM.
Yes, that I understand, but it does actually mean that you don't even have to take the panel report for a review. As it stands, it gives the parliament opportunity to proceed with the impeachment, but it does not say someone is already guilty of anything. It just says there is a possibility that certain laws were broken, of which the parliament may then decide either to accept the recommendation or actually not. So I do not think in the immediate the president should resign on the basis of the panel report. The president should resign on the basis of his failure to be a law-abiding citizen. If a crime occurs in your house, you report it to the police station. I say in my letter to him this morning, actually, after he has reported the case to the police were going to give him a case number via SMS, and he will never have heard or ever, because that's the experience of many South Africans, and there will be no Phala Phala saga.
Yeah,
because frankly, this is a high-risk maneuver on the side of the president. We still don't know the full details, but it's a lot of money in foreign currency to be kept in a sofa.
Exactly, with the Reserve Bank not even knowing. Thank you so much for speaking to us about this particular issue. And I wonder if the president is willing to sit in a protracted process of that impeachment inquiry to be possibly more embarrassed than he already has been. But it's going to be an interesting few days, like I said. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Columnist and author of Ramaphosa Chronicles, Bhekisisa Mncube.